Christina. I'm a business owner, debtor, and an under-earner. I want to thank Monty for asking me to come, and I want to thank Tony for sitting here in Monty's place and being of service. I am really nervous. You know, I was sitting here thinking, wow, like cold and clammy, not my favorite. But here it is. I'm human and I'm here, and I'm so grateful to be here, and I'm so grateful that all of you guys are here, and especially the newcomers. You know, this is, in my experience, one of the hardest 12-step programs. I'm in a few, and yet one of the most rewarding, and this program has really changed my life. So if I say anything today, I hope that you at least keep coming back and give it a shot, because this program really works. And I can say that with confidence because it's my experience. And there's so many things that I've learned here, and I just don't even know where to start, except that this is the program for me where I really had to find a higher power. I came originally to DA back in the 80s in New York. I was in an Al-Anon. I feel like, it's funny, another 12-step program. I'm in a lot of 12-step programs, so I might mention them, and I hope it doesn't offend anybody, but it's just part of my story. So I was in Al-Anon, and I was very invested on blaming the people in my life for my problems. And and I was broke. I was in my 20s, I was trying to have a career, and I was working 3 jobs, and it became clear that I wanted to move back to Los Angeles because I'm from here. I grew up in the San Fernando Valley, and yes, I'm a Valley girl. And I moved to New York City to pursue my dreams and my work. And I wrote a project, and I wanted to come back to LA, and so I came to DA for like a minute. And the one tool that I really utilized, which is something that I still do today, which I think is a great place to start for anybody, especially newcomers, is just writing down my numbers. I was told to write down in a little notebook. We didn't have apps in those days, and I still write in a notebook because I'm a creature of habit. But what I spend, bagel, coffee, bus, phone, booth. Old school, right? Wow. And then whatever I earned. And so I got in that habit, and I was able to save money and move back to LA. And then I basically came back to LA and just didn't come back to DA for about maybe 6 years or so. And I came, this was like in 95 or 96. And this meeting was my home group. And this meeting was in a different location. It wasn't quite as big, but definitely a lot of recovery. And some of you were there then. And I really jumped in with, I was at that point now 3 years sober in AA. And once again, was broke. I made a film. I made my first short film, and we shot it on film. And before that, I was writing plays and doing a lot of theater, and we would throw up plays, and I just wouldn't pay my rent for like 6 months and produce a play. And then my landlord was very sweet, and, I'm like, yeah, get it together. And my rent at that time was $330 a month. Okay, couldn't swing it. So that's the kind of under-earner, and really, honestly, very irresponsible, obviously. My art was more important, and the arrogance of that. So I'm happy to say that I did, bless you, pay back that back rent to that landlord before he passed away, and that's due to this program. But so we made this short film, and I kind of thought it was like a play where you just kind of like magically make it happen, like very kind of vague and Somehow. Thank you. So the film stock was in a lab in the valley called Photocam, and I went in there as charming as I could be. Oh God, we got to get our film stock, whatever. And they're like, yeah, it costs this much money. And that's where it was like, and I came here. And I was like, I gotta see that footage, and so that was my desperation, and then of course pay my rent. But I was able to grasp this program, and my life changed. I was coming regularly for the next 12 years. So much changed. I learned how to become a grown-up. I learned how to be responsible. I learned how to be accountable. And I also, looking back on it, I also was very perfectionistic about this program because, in my experience, I come from an alcoholic family. I don't blame them for my stuff as an adult person, but it's just where I came from. I don't want to get into it too much, but basically, this will sum it up, I think, pretty good. We drove a Jaguar and had food stamps. So it was a little confusing. There was a big disconnect. And that's been a big part of my recovery, is to get reconnected to self, God, you guys, my purpose, and really, why I'm here. So that time in DA, I started to learn those things. I learned through a PRG that, I was worthy of a winter coat. Mindy was like, you can do a spending plan and buy yourself a winter coat, because I was going back east for, and I was like, I'll go to a thrift store or whatever. But, buying a new coat was so fabulous, and just little things that maybe some people grew up with and knew, I don't know. I didn't, so I learned that here. And I really feel like, for me, this is the grown-up program. And at first I didn't think it was sexy to be in this grown-up program because it just seemed hard, and it was, and it is sometimes, but now I think it's very sexy. So, what happened is I got married in this program. My partner at the time, we had a PRG around our wedding, and we had business meetings, and everything was very solvent and beautiful and perfect. And then I wasn't happy because a lot of things, but I think I don't know, I was stuck. So I worked the 12 steps, and for me, that's a real go-to when things get stuck, especially the inventory process. And I'm a big fan of outside help, got a lot of therapy, decided that the marriage was perfect in lots of ways on paper, but not in my heart. So I followed my heart, and I got a divorce that wasn't horrible. People talk about, oh my God, divorce. It wasn't horrible. It was actually as loving as a divorce can be. It was very sober, and my ex-husband and I are very good friends today and have a really healthy relationship. However, I then went into my career with a vengeance. I was like a dog with a bone. I'm like, okay, I gotta, do this project, and I gotta make it happen. And I tried to sort of do it the way we do things here, and it wasn't happening fast enough for me. And I was like, see you later, suckers. I'm making a movie. And yeah, again, arrogant ego. So I made that movie. It was really hard. It took me 2.5 years. In the time that happened, my father got sick, basically from alcoholism. He died a really depressing alcoholic death. And then by the time I finished that film, my mother got sick and died. So it was like a lot of grief, and then I got to learn that for me, my workaholism and my outside validation and even my creativity, which served me really well, especially as a little girl growing up in an alcoholic home. But as a woman, it's not enough. I needed God. I need recovery. So I came back, thank you to DA, almost 4 years ago. It'll be 4 years in January, really on my knees in a very spiritual, bankrupt place. Also didn't have any money. So I came here very humbly and saw some familiar faces from back when I was here before, was given nothing but love. Found an amazing sponsor who took me through the steps, although very slowly, because I'm a doer, by the way. I'm like, oh, okay, we got something to do, let's do it. I'm like, let's do the steps, and then I can get to that, and I can get this, and I can have that, and that's my thing, because to sit and feel this stuff and be with those feelings, I'm an addict, so it's not my go-to. So this wonderful sponsor that I found, she had me really sit in my second and third step way longer than I wanted to. And by the way, that first year back, not earning, not getting jobs, I was like, what the hell? I was doing everything. I was going to meetings, and it's just like, whoa. And I really got, thank you, God, and thank you, Jamie, I got a sense of what it's like to really rely on a higher power for everything. For everything. My needs were absolutely met, and then, she kept saying, you just need a steady job, some steady kind of income, because, of course, I've written another film that I wanted to make, and I was like, but I gotta get to France, and every PRG was like, I gotta get to France, and people were like, okay, that's great, but why don't you try, earning some money and paying your rent? So I learned how to do that again here with a different understanding. Today my higher power goes first, and then I follow. I do not push my life anymore. I've hit a wall with that, and it's been great. This year has been challenging. I've had some health issues that kind of came out of nowhere that have really slowed me down. A creative partner that I worked with for 20 years died of cancer. My therapist of 17 years suddenly died. It was a lot of grief again. It's been a very healing year for me too, because I did end up getting a steady job that I have right now, and it's doing something I really love. It's teaching what I do. I teach directing and screenwriting and acting, and I love it so much, and I'm very, very grateful to have that opportunity to share my experience with students and people, and two more, thank you. And that's kept me afloat. And last month I was in France. I was invited to go by the city of Marseille, which is the city where I've set a story that I've written, and they paid for the whole trip. And in the 11th hour, I still didn't really have enough money to go, and my PRG people, were a little like, hey, baby, because they didn't want me to come back broke. And I got that, and then out of the blue, as we call it around here sometimes, a bit of money came in through another project of mine, that first feature, that now is online and available and making money. Dropped into my account, and I was able to go and, like we say around here, it's about the money, it's not about the money. For me, it is a blessing, and I'm really, really grateful that I'm not worried about money today. I have a very humble, prudent reserve that I'm building back up. I do separate my business account from my personal account. I pay my taxes. The debt that I have left over from that first feature is a little under $3,000 that I've been paying off slowly. But for me, more importantly, is that I am comfortable in my skin today, and I'm actually really happy in a place that is not about my work or my relationships, but I think really about my relationship with my higher power and my relationship with myself. And you guys have taught me that, and I didn't think I would learn that in a money program, but I have, and I'm forever, ever grateful for that. And I just hope that, again, the newcomers, you stick around and find what's right for you here, and avail yourself to the tools, because they really do work. And thank you so much.